story time about how I caught my husband cheating on me with a neighbor. My husband is a really rich guy. Disclaimer, this is not my story time. I first met my husband when I was 20 years old and he was 10 years older than me. He was basically my sugar daddy. Once I graduated college, he asked me to work at his company. I did all of the marketing. But eventually we wanted to have kids, so we decided to move to a bigger house. We ended up moving to a really secluded neighborhood with lots of rich families. One of our neighbors owned a yoga studio. There was also a young couple living across the street from us and they were also business owners. It was the perfect situation until I noticed that my husband was paying less and less attention to me. Well, I didn't hesitate to ask him why. He denied it and said that I was making things up in my head. So I installed an app in his phone that would send all of his text messages and emails straight to my phone. And guess what I saw? Text messages between him and the neighbor who owned the yoga studio. She was 10 years older than my husband, so I never saw it coming. I started collecting all the evidence into folders, pictures, and text messages. I wanted to catch him in the act. So one day I said I was going to a spa for the entire day. Part 2 is I told my husband I was going to be at the spa all day long. I wanted to see if he was going to bring the neighbor around to cheat on me some more. When I got in the car to leave, I get a message that he sent to the neighbor. Like I said, I had planted an app in his phone, so I was receiving all the messages he was sending and receiving. And of course, he sends her a message saying, "Hey, my wife's going to be at the spa all day. We're free." And she replies saying, "Perfect, I'll come over." My stomach dropped. I drove around for a bit and waited for her to get to my house. Then I see she sends him a message saying she's there. That was my cue to go back to my house to catch him in the act. I race back and enter the house super quietly. I go into the living room and don't see anything, so I assumed they were in our bedroom. I go up to the bedroom and no one's there. And I see they're in the backyard in the pool. I pull out my phone and press record. I run downstairs and I surprise them in the act. They were both naked and my husband jumps out of the pool and wraps himself in a towel. Our neighbor stays in the pool. My husband says, "I was gonna tell you, I swear." It gets worse. Part 3 is up. I catch my husband doing dirty things in the pool with our neighbor. I'm recording all of this, by the way. He says he was gonna tell me. So I show him all the evidence that I had been gathering, all the messages and the pictures. But little did he know I had already hired a lawyer. I'd known about the affair for about a month at this point. I had already been working on the divorce with the lawyer, documenting every single transgression my husband committed against me with our neighbor. And when I told my husband, he freaked. The neighbor, aka the woman my husband was with, she got out of the pool and went home. I printed out some flyers with all the pictures she had sent my husband and spread them around her yoga studio. I now get $10,000 from my husband monthly.
Did I mess up by asking a coworker how his girlfriend's driving test went? Me and another coworker accidentally triggered one of our other coworkers. We have a small workplace/shop where everyone's business is constantly spread around. So a coworker of ours recently started dating a girl after splitting from his wife. This new girl was a few years younger than him and did not have a driver's license and was going to college. We would kind of tease him about driving his girlfriend everywhere. He was also somewhat reserved in speaking about his relationship, like intimacy, but he would laugh everything off. Anyways, he requested some time off to go take his girlfriend to do her driving test. Later in the afternoon, he came back to the shop and when he walked in, I asked, "So, how did the test go?" And my other coworker said, "Yeah, did she pass it?" In response, he just looked at both of us in a confused way and angrily spouted, "What the F?" He shook his head and said, "Why does everyone need to know all my business?" And then he went on and on about how nobody can have a personal life at this place. After his rant, he said, "It went all right. The doctor just gave her some cream and said that she will need to apply for a few weeks, and if I developed anything, I will too. But right now, I'm fine." Silence. I looked at my other coworker and he looked at me like, "What the?" Both of us cracked a smile and then I looked back at him and said, "The driving test?" And his face went so red, he hurriedly said, "Oh yeah, she passed it," and quickly left. My other coworker and I busted out laughing. So this dude's girlfriend had picked up an STD from a different dude. Not long after that, everyone in the shop did know his business, but it was his own fault, right?
This story time is how I caught my boyfriend cheating on me with my best friend. Okay, so my birthday is when I introduced my two favorite people in the world, my boyfriend and my old childhood best friend. We went out to the club along with some other friends. We all had a great time and they were also able to talk, which I was glad about because they'd be able to be comfortable around each other so it wouldn't be awkward. After the night was over, my boyfriend asked if they could exchange contacts and I was filled with liquid courage and thought it was cool because then they would be close. I don't know. But fast forward a couple months, I went on a business trip for a week to Florida, but the trip cut short because I got finished doing everything and was able to come home 2 days early. So I wanted to surprise my boyfriend and I bought some food from his favorite restaurants. When I got home, I called for my boyfriend but no response. Then I went upstairs and heard moaning in my bedroom. So I busted in and saw my boyfriend laying in bed with my best friend. If y'all want to know what happened after that, let me know down below in the comments. This is part 2 of how I caught my boyfriend cheating on me with my best friend. So after I came back home 2 days early from my business trip, I caught my boyfriend in bed with my best friend. My heart has never burned so hard. I blacked out and I went crazy. I jumped on the bed and started beating him. And he was stronger than me and was able to pin me down. He was naked, but he was over me, so I was able to squeeze his you-know-what. And he crawled in a corner, panicking. My best friend seemed like she was trying to put on clothes and rush out, but she wasn't getting away easy, so I snatched the clothes she was trying to put on, threw it out the window. I snatched her up by the hair, dragged her out of the house, and she stood outside naked. And I didn't care because I never felt so betrayed. Then I went back to the room and it seemed like my boyfriend was trying to get up and put on clothes and grab his keys, but I snatched the keys out of his hands and flushed them down the toilet. At that point, I got fed up. So I grabbed my taser and told him to get out, and I left both of them outside naked. My boyfriend was trying to get back in the house, so I called the police about trespassers trying to get inside my house and trying to attack me. If you want to know what happened after that, let me know down below in the comments. This is part 3 of how I caught my boyfriend cheating on me with my best friend. So after I caught them in bed together, I kicked them out of the house completely naked. When my boyfriend was trying to get back in, I called the police about trespassers trying to get inside my house and attacking me. And it was my house. I paid the bills. His name wasn't on the deed, and they were both arrested. My boyfriend even tried to run and hide, but they tackled him and pinned him down. And it felt good to see, but I was still hurt. And the crazy thing is, 3 years later, they are now together. My ex-best friend even got pregnant. She tried to invite me to the baby shower, but I threw the invitation away. Instead, I sent them a cute bag of dirty diapers.
Am I the asshole for announcing my pregnancy first? I am 26 and married to my husband and have an older sister who is 27 who I'll call Kay. For some background, Kay was the golden child, but my parents rapidly changed their tune when she failed university and started a party lifestyle for a bit, no longer the case. Suddenly, I was a favorite because I finished school and had a moderately successful life. I think it's BS that my parents have or had favorites, and I largely keep my distance, but it's something that has bothered Kay a lot. So, my husband and I recently got pregnant, surprise, and though I keep a healthy distance from my parents, we still talk. Boundaries are really important to have with them because they will trample over your entire life and privacy. COVID restrictions are a thing, and I'm not big on parties anyways, so I decided to just tell my family about the latest news during a monthly family video chat last Friday. Once everyone had done the preliminary catching up, my husband and I said we had some news, and then I said I was pregnant. My parents, sisters, and grandmother lost it, screaming and laughing and crying in joy. This is the first grandchild, great-grandchild, niece, or nephew, so they understandably had pretty dramatic reactions. Once things calmed down a bit, I asked Kay if she was still there, and she said yes, but she had to go and deal with something else. I thought it was odd, but didn't give it much further thought. Later, I get a text from Kay saying that she was going to make a pregnancy announcement then too, but that I had ruined it. I should have asked her specifically before making the announcement because she, as the firstborn, should have been the one to have the first grandchild, and that my child would get all the attention and love and hers would get second rate. I sent her a text saying that I had no clue she was pregnant and congratulating her, and that I was so sorry she didn't get to make the announcement when she wanted to. I then, possibly quite stupidly, asked her when her due date was, and Kay said, "Don't worry, you're first," and has not answered anything since. So, am I the asshole?
Story time about how my boyfriend cheated on me with a 17-year-old girl. So when summer started, I started working at this new job. And I had a really good connection with one of my coworkers. And he was 28 years old. So we started talking. But I would get mad at him a lot because he would ignore my messages asking to hang out. And on top of that, every time that we got done with work, we would all go sit and eat, and he would sit next to this one girl. And by the way, she was 17. And I could see them flirting all the time. Well, finally, once summer ended, she moved away. And then I felt like I had a real chance to start dating him. So we started hanging out a lot and hooking up a lot. After a few months, I started taking our relationship serious. Well, apparently not for him because there was this girl on his phone that he had been texting a lot. So weirdly enough, after that, I get a DM from the girl that he would always flirt with at work. And she asked me if I was dating him. And I said, yeah, and then she goes, oh, well, he's been texting me a lot. So then I blocked her and went and hooked up with one of his friends that night, like for part 2. Part 2 about how my boyfriend was cheating on me with a 17-year-old girl. So like I said, I hooked up with this friend that night, but I didn't tell him for a couple months because he would always say that we weren't dating, even though we were basically in a relationship. So we were doing really good until around Christmas time. So after he gave me my gifts, which was socks and a candle, he left for Massachusetts. I don't know if I said that right. And a month before this, I had unblocked the girl that he was flirting with. So weirdly enough, after he left, she DM'd me, basically asking if I was still dating him again. And I was like, yeah, why? And she goes, well, I need to tell you something. He actually took my virginity, and he's been sending me a lot of gifts, like a record player and albums, and we've been talking on the phone every night. So when I confronted him about it, he said he felt bad for her because he took her virginity. So after that, I confessed to hooking up with his best friend and called him a child predator.
Story time of how I found out my boyfriend was cheating on me with my cousin. My boyfriend and I had been together for 2.5 years. His family loved me and my family loved him and they expected us to get married. Well, last year when COVID started, we were actually in different countries, so we didn't see each other for 3 months. During those 3 months, we FaceTimed 4 times a day, and we were always texting. He happened to be quarantining in our hometown, so both of our families were in the same place. I was quarantined in a different country. One day, my cousin calls me and tells me that she met a really nice guy on a dating website. I was so happy for her because she had had bad luck with guys. Every single week, her and I would catch up on the phone and she would tell me how much she liked this guy, and how amazing their dates were, and how amazing he was in bed, how sweet and considerate he was. I couldn't be happier for her. Well, when I finally get back home, my boyfriend is super distant and cold. So naturally, I called my cousin and complained. She told me to give him space. She said I should just leave him alone. And so like an idiot, I did leave him alone. One day, my cousin calls me and tells me to come over for dinner. When I got there, my boyfriend's car was parked in her garage. I thought it was just her nice way of trying to get us to talk. I walk in and catch them doing the dirty on the couch. Come back for part 2. So I walk in on my cousin and my boyfriend doing the dirty on her couch. They quickly get up from the couch and get dressed. Of course, by that time, I'm in hysterics. I'm crying and yelling. My boyfriend instantly got on his knees and begged me for forgiveness. I went up to my cousin and I punched her right in the face. She wasn't expecting that. And I said, well, this is the guy that you've been dating, isn't it? She said yes, and that she was just trying to find the best way to tell me. And so she just thought the best way to tell me was to get me to walk in on her and him doing the dirty. I punched her again. My boyfriend came to her rescue though. Instantly went into hero mode, which made me even angrier, so I punched him too. I stormed out of her house and went back to my house. Well, I told my parents everything. And my dad went over to my uncle's house, my cousin's dad, and he told him everything. She was about to turn 19, so he took away her phone and her car. And I get a phone call from my ex, come back for Part 3. So my lying, cheating ex calls me and explains to me why he actually slept with my cousin. He said that he was so lonely and that he didn't know what to do, and that the closest thing to me he could find was my cousin. Right, as if that was any comfort to me. He said I should be grateful that I didn't cheat with someone else. I told him he had totally betrayed my trust and that I could never ever trust him again. And then he confessed that she was pregnant and that his parents wanted them to get married. He said he just wanted to give me a heads up. Then he said that we could still be together but just not tell anyone, so basically he wanted me to be his side piece. I couldn't believe the words that were coming out of his mouth. It was like I didn't know this man. Guess what I did? I recorded the entire conversation. So I went straight to my cousin and I let her listen to it. She was so shocked. She couldn't believe that he would offer to have me as a side chick. Well, I also let my uncle listen to it. He went to my ex's house and beat him up. Honestly, that made me sad, but he deserved it. They now have a baby and he's gained 50 pounds. Trust your instincts, girl, and always record your conversations. Also, how cute are my nails?
It's gonna be a quick story time of how my parents found my OnlyFans. So I had just recently broken up with my boyfriend and my friends were trying to find ways to make me feel better. They were trying to tell me to go on Tinder and all these other dating apps to find a new man. I didn't want to find a new man more than I wanted to make him jealous. And so my friends were telling me a good way to get back at him is to post myself with another man. But I had a better idea. I was gonna make an OnlyFans and I was gonna tell his friends about it and let them subscribe for free. And it did work. He sent me a big paragraph going off on me about it. I thought it was really funny, but anyways. So I had left one night with my friends, they were just trying to take me out and make me feel a little bit better, just to try to make me feel better and get the recent breakup off my head. And I was living at home at the time. I had just turned 18. My parents were really strict and they didn't even know that I had a boyfriend. So while I'm out with my friends, I get a text message from my mom telling me to get home now. I'm asking her what's going on and she's telling me that I just need to get home because we need to talk. And so once I get home, I open the front door. I walk into the living room and my ass was spread open right on the TV screen. It's gonna be part 2 of how my parents found my OnlyFans. So I get home from hanging out with my friends and I see my OnlyFans on the TV screen. My mom is acting like she just saw the Holy Ghost. My dad is shaking his head, just mad disappointed. For some reason, my little brother was sitting over there on the couch. And I'm like, what are y'all doing? What is this? Why would you put it on the TV? Our TV was a smart touch screen TV and you could connect your phone to the TV, but I didn't understand why it was on the TV screen with my little brother right there. So my mom's yelling at me like, so is this what we are? Is this what we do? And she's telling me if I'm going to be acting grown, then I'm gonna have to find a different place to stay because I'm not about to represent our family like this. So I told her that it was just a quick way for me to make money and she told me that I was lying. And then she proceeded to show me a text message that she got from my boyfriend telling her that I had let his friends subscribe for free and that I was going down the deep end and I need to be talked to. I don't know if I said ex-boyfriend or not, but it was my ex-boyfriend who had sent her that text. So I told him that I would delete my OnlyFans and this is what I said to my ex-boyfriend for part 3. It's gonna be part 3 of how my parents found my OnlyFans. So it was my ex-boyfriend who had told my parents about my OnlyFans. So I decided that I was going to message him. I basically went off on him and I told him, why the fuck would you show my parents my OnlyFans? Why did you feel the need to do that? You're just jealous, yada, yada, yada. And he told me that it's because he doesn't want me to represent myself that way. But I know it's more of the fact that his friends were subscribed to me and he wanted me to just take it down. And I told him that we weren't in a relationship anymore, so his opinion didn't matter. I removed him off everything and he still found ways to text me. He even eventually started to email me. me. And now he was telling me that he missed me and that he wanted another chance. And I'm like, dude, no, you almost got me kicked out. From that point on, my parents never helped me out with anything ever again. I had to start paying everything by myself. And throughout the relationship with my boyfriend, he would basically do everything for me. And so I decided to get back with him. Eventually, he got his own apartment. And so I moved out of my parents' house and moved in with him. And then me and him made an OnlyFans together. My parents found out about that too, but there was nothing that
This is going to be a story time of how me and my friends waged war on the nastiest girls at my high school. After watching all of the parts, you get to decide who won this war. And just a heads up, this will probably be the nastiest story time that I've ever posted. Let's get right into it. So at my high school, there was these group of girls that would keep themselves dirty so they could get attention from the boys. They would never take showers. They would always come to school stankin'. It was so bad to the point where if you were in class with them, the teachers would have to open up all the windows and leave the door wide open so the smell could drift out. Like, it was that bad. You really could have passed out. The school went as far as holding an assembly about how important hygiene is, just because of these girls. Now, these girls stayed together as a clique, and they were on the track team, and me and my friends were also on the track team. Our coach encouraged us to take showers after practice, but she couldn't force us. But she made it clear that she wanted us to take showers. Those girls wouldn't take full-on showers. They just get in the water for like 5 seconds and then get out. So one day, me and my friends decided that all those girls were in the shower, we were going to pour soap and shampoo all over them, like for part 2. This is going to be part 2 of how me and my friends waged war on the nastiest girls at our high school. As you could imagine, track practice sucked because of how bad they smelled. And mind you, they barely contributed to the track team. They were those girls that always pretended like they had an injury so they didn't have to practice. It was embarrassing, like, why are you here? And so after practice, while they were taking their 10-second showers, me and my friends took bottles of soap and shampoo and poured it all over them. This made them like cuss us out. They were extremely angry, but they didn't do anything. So some time passes by, and one of my friends had told me that her boyfriend had gave her an STD. So she's thinking, he didn't have this STD before, and all of a sudden he has one. So where did he get it from? Then all of a sudden, next thing you know, one of those thankin' wankin' girls that we poured soap and shampoo all over starts posting on her story, and she says, and I quote, "You say I'm dirty, but your boyfriend doesn't think any less of me, so what does that make you?" Eventually, my friend's boyfriend admitted to her that he had cheated on her with one of those girls. And it wasn't just the two of them. It was all those girls, my friend's boyfriend, and some of his friends. It was like a fivesome. This is going to be part 3 of how me and my friends waged war on the nastiest girls at our high school. So like I said, those girls that never took showers had gotten a train ran on them by one of my friend's boyfriend and some of his friends. This pissed my friend off so bad, she was acting out of character. And I say out of character, I'm talking about this girl was saying, oh, I'm gonna poison her, I'm gonna run this bitch over. At the time, it seemed excessive, but just wait until you hear the whole story and you'll understand why it would have been justified. So my friend had asked her, her ex-boyfriend why he did what he did. He said that they didn't smell bad at the time and it was just spur of the moment. But he knew that his own girlfriend did not like those girls. My friend would talk shit about those girls to him. And it's the fact that he still had the audacity to put his dingling in my friend after he had ran a train on those girls. Like, that's disrespectful. And so to get back at these girls, my friend decided that she was going to stay in the locker room for track practice after all the girls left the locker room. And she took a piss on all of those girls' clothes. This led to one of the girls getting a rash that got really bad to the point where she had to be hospitalized. Trust me, you're gonna want to like for part 4. So this is going to be part 4 of the time my friends and I waged war on the nastiest girls at our high school. So after my friend had pissed on those girls' clothes for giving her an STD, one of the girls got a really bad rash for wearing those clothes and had to be hospitalized. Now, I would have said that my friend went too far if it wasn't for this. So my track team ended up going on a camping trip, and the coach told those girls specifically that if they wanted to go on the camping trip, that they were going to have to be hygienic. They were going to have to take full-on showers, they were going to have to brush their teeth, they're going to have to bring a change of clothes, and me and my friends had hoped that they weren't going to come on this camping trip so we could have our fun. But they actually agreed to being hygienic, and so they came on the camping trip. I'm still taken aback at the events that happened on this camping trip. So we're on the camping trip, we're like the 3rd day in. We sat around the campfire and made s'mores, and then we all went to sleep in our tents. Me and my friends, we all shared a tent. All my friends were asleep, but I wasn't asleep yet. I was still drifting asleep, and then I heard somebody open our tent. It was kind of dark, but I could still make out who it was, and it was one of those girls me and my friends were beefing with. She gets to where my friend is sleeping and squats down, and she takes a shit right on my friend. This is going to be part 5 of the time my friends and I waged war on the nastiest girls at our high school. Like I said, we're on a camping trip and my friends and I are all sleeping in a tent. One of those girls we're beefing with comes into the tent, squats down on one of my friend's faces and takes a shit right on her face. Mind you, she thought that I was sleeping. So once I screamed at her, like, what the fuck are you doing? She gets up and runs out of the tent. This girl is butt ass naked, okay? My friend eventually wakes up and she's smacking her lips like, what is that taste? And I'm telling her, like, do not swallow. Whatever you do not swallow. And I'm like, girl, it's just some chocolate from the s'mores we made earlier. I was trying to get her not to freak out because she was going to mollywop Miss Butt Naked Nasty. She eventually figures out what it is and she's like, is this some type of sick joke? And so I'm telling her, no, bitch, who the fuck do you think I am? So I run out the tent and then I see one of those girls like fast walking towards the woods and she's looking behind her and then she sees me. So I start running after her and she starts dashing through the woods. I'm cussing her out like, bitch, you're fucking nasty. Fuck is wrong with you? Eventually our coaches hear the noise and they wake up like for part 6. This is gonna be part 6 of the time my friends and I waged war on the nastiest girls at our high school. Like I said, after I'm chasing this girl for taking a shit on my friend's face, I'm cussing her out, running behind her. Eventually, I lose her in the woods and I have to walk back to where we were camping. Our coaches had woken up at that point and they were talking to my friend who had shit all over her face. She was telling them, like, I don't even know what's going on. And so once they saw me, they were asking me, like, what's happening? And I'm basically telling them everything that happened. And so the coaches start looking for this girl. Eventually, they find her butt naked somewhere. They call that girl's parents and then my friend's parents to let them know what had happened. And my friend's mom decided that she did not want my friend on the camping trip anymore. So they cut the camping trip short, and for the rest of the time, they kept that girl and my friend separated. Just so you guys know, me and my friends could not beat up those girls because we were athletic academic scholars, bitch. They are not worth it. But once we went to school again, the school ended up expelling all of those girls. And it's because my friend's complaint about them was kind of the last straw. They had so many complaints about their hygiene, how dirty they were, so the school was just kind of like, okay, we're done with y'all. That was the end of it. Who do y'all think won this war? Story time of the sickest I felt in my whole life. You might want to hold your breath for this one. My boyfriend and I had been dating for like 8 months or so. I had my own place, so I let him move in with me. One day, my best friend decides that she wants to become a hairdresser, and so she started taking clients and doing people's hair. I became one of her clients because she did hair really good, and she didn't charge me as much because I was her bestie. Whenever I needed her to do my hair, she would come over to my place. Well, over time, my best friend and my boyfriend began to become closer. I didn't think anything of it because I trusted my best friend and my boyfriend. Sometimes my best friend and my boyfriend would be alone together because if she was doing my hair that day and I wasn't home, I would make my boyfriend open the door for her. She could just go ahead and walk on in, get her stuff set up, and then once I was there, she could do my hair. Like I said, I trusted them enough, so I wasn't worried about it. Bitch, I should have been worried about it. One night, my boyfriend tells me that he's gonna be working a little late that night. So, I'm like, okay, that's fine. So that night, I was just sitting on my bed scrolling through my social. Then I opened Snapchat. I'm watching my best friend's story, and she had made a brand new private story. She added me to that story, and there was a picture of my best friend and my boyfriend in bed together. This is gonna be part 2 of the sickest I felt in my whole life. The pain in my chest when I saw the picture of my best friend and my boyfriend in bed together. I started heaving. I was wheezing, like, so I was thinking to myself whether I should slide up and say anything, or if I should pull up to her house and whoop her ass. They had to have been at her house because that man had no place to go. That's why he was living with me. This man is over here homie hopping. Meanwhile, he don't even got a home. Although I was very upset, I was surprisingly calm. I decided that I'm not gonna pull up and beat both of their asses. I decided that I was just gonna take his stuff and throw it out the door. And as I'm walking to his room, I hear what sounds like a window is opening. And it sounds like it's coming from my boyfriend's room. So I keep walking to his room to check out whatever this sound is. I walk in there. And there my best friend and my boyfriend are sleeping on the bed that I bought him in my house. Bitch, like for part 3. This is gonna be part 3 of the sickest I felt in my entire life. Like I said, I walked in the room and saw my best friend and my boyfriend sleeping. I'm like, okay, we taking naps, bitch, in my fucking house. Let's take a fucking nap, then I'm gonna put both of y'all to sleep. So my boyfriend actually looked like he was sleeping, but I could tell that my best friend was faking it. But she had just posted that snap only 10 minutes ago. It was clearly intended for me to see. So I walk up to the bed. I go over to where my boyfriend is sleeping, and when this is gonna be part 4 of the sickest that I felt in my whole life. So I had just gotten done beating up my boyfriend after catching him with my best friend. As I was beating up my boyfriend, my best friend was getting herself together so she could go. Like, where are you going home, girl? Our business isn't finished here, bestie. So I charge towards her and she's ready because she knows I don't play that. And she puts up her fists. I run up to her, she tries to swing, dodged it. I grab her hair and I drag her to the door. Maybe not the bedroom door. The front door. Dragged her all the way out and kicked her out the door. I locked the door, then I went back to my boyfriend's room, cussed him out a little more, and started packing his stuff up for him. I tell him that he has one day to get all of his stuff and leave, or else I'm burning it. I cut my friend off completely because she did some weird ass shit. I don't know why she would do anything like that, and I wasn't about to ask questions because I didn't give a fuck. My boyfriend was over there trying to beg me to stay, trying to say he was sorry, and I just was not having it. So I cut them both off. Girl, the hairstyles in Diddley wasn't that good. It was not that good to keep them around. Fuck 'em. This is gonna be a story time of when my stepbrother killed our dog and fed it to me and my little sister for dinner. Let's get right into it. So my mom had died when I was younger and my dad had remarried. So I had a stepmom and she had a son. This motherfucker, let me tell you, we did not get along. I fought with him all the time, but it's because he was a little bitch. He would always bully me and my little sister and make fun of our weight. He would threaten to beat us up just for fun. Like, you in our house, get it together. I began to scold my dad because he was the one who brought them in this fucking house and he wasn't doing nothing about it. He knew they were tearing our family apart and he did nothing. So, anyways, one night, my My parents weren't home and my stepbrother had to watch me and my little sister. Like I said, he was a little bitch, so he was upset because he had plans to hang out with his girlfriend. But that really sounds like a personal problem. Let me stop coming at this man. It's just making me angry thinking about it. So my dad had sent my stepbrother money so he could go get groceries so he could make us dinner. But my stepbrother didn't want to, so he sent me instead. Oh, mind you, I was like 12 at the time. And he sent me alone and my little sisters were sleeping. When I came home and knocked on the door, I noticed that our dog didn't run up to see who was at the door like she usually did. Then I smelled something coming from the kitchen, like for part 2. This is gonna be part 2 of how my stepbrother killed our dog and fed it to me and my little sister for dinner. So like I said, I got home from the grocery store and our dog didn't run up to the door like she usually did. I didn't think much of it and then I smelled something coming from the kitchen. What could he possibly be cooking if there's no groceries? And no, I didn't automatically think, oh, he's cooking our dog. Just hold on. Whatever was cooking on the stove smelled like shit. It made the whole house stink, but like I said, I didn't think too much of it. Now that I think of it, I heard the laundry machine going and my family had a set schedule for laundry. Like we never did laundry off schedule, so that was kind of weird. My parents are just very organized people, besides the point. So I go upstairs to wake up my little sister and I see my stepbrother pass me and go down to the kitchen. An hour or so goes by and he calls us downstairs and says dinner is ready. All he did was boil some corn, give us canned peas and some slab of meat. The meat was burnt, by the way, but I guess food is food. So we started eating this atrocious meal and all I could think about were these tiny little hairs that just kept going in my mouth. I kept pulling pieces out my mouth. Mind you, this hair had no color. It was burnt. Now our dog loved to eat dinner with us, but she was nowhere to be seen. I started looking for her and I realized that she's missing. This is gonna be part 3 of the time my stepbrother killed our dog and fed it to us for dinner. So like I said, I started looking around for the dog. I asked my little sister if she's seen her. She said no. So I asked my stepbrother and he says no too. Somebody fucking lie. Who the fuck is lying? Cause it ain't fucking me. Let me fucking stop. Okay, so we trying to find this dog. I call my dad. He says she probably ran away, but no one let her outside that day. And I know she didn't just go outside. So the days pass and we're still looking for her and we hang up missing posters. I got my friends to help me. My dad's looking, my stepmother, my little sister, and even my stepbrother. As time goes on, my little sister and I began to fall sick. We go to the doctor. They say we have stomach problems. They said it was probably from something that we ate. And I'm thinking to myself, what abnormal thing did I eat? That random slab of meat. Because there was no groceries. Where the fuck did he find that meat from? So I'm putting pieces together. You know, we're falling sick. The meat was hairy. Our dog is missing. Eventually, my dad ends up finding the dog, but it was dead and cut up. This is gonna be part 4 of the time my stepbrother cooked our dog and fed it to me and my little sister for dinner. So my dad ends up finding our dog hidden under some sticks in our backyard, but it was dead and cut into pieces. I might have been 12, but I wasn't dumb. I knew what the fuck was going on. So once my dad brings us this news, after he's done telling us what he found, I pulled into the other room. I told him what I peeped. I was sobbing and I told him I think it was my stepbrother who did it. I told him about the dog not meeting me at the door, the smell of the kitchen, the hairs, the laundry, the fact that we got sick. I gave him all the puzzle pieces, but he told me that he didn't believe me. He said, and I quote, "Your stepbrother might be mean to you, but he's not crazy." I said, because it's right there. It is right in front of you. Like, the evidence speaks for its fucking self. I ain't gotta say too much. So my dad ends up not doing anything to my stepbrother. He faced literally 0 consequences. I'm 19 now and I don't talk to him anymore. Till this day, I 110% believe that my stepbrother did it. I didn't really think that I was gonna have to come on here and make this video, but she's left me no other choice. Before y'all try to come on here saying keep your family business off the internet, this was my last resort. It was up to her to do this the easy way or the hard way. She chose the hard way. So now I'm applying pressure. My own older sister, my own blood, stole $5,000 from me, which was all of my money. All my hard-earned money. Knowing that my parents are unreliable and that I provide for me and my 11-year-old brother. I provide every basic necessity and she knows this. Little brother would come up to me crying because he was hungry because I'm the only person that he can rely on. There were times where I didn't eat and I let him have all my food. This is a child, bro. He needs the proper nutrients. He's still developing. It was eating me the fuck up inside knowing that he doesn't have to be struggling. The only reason he was because my older sister wants to be petty towards me. Like, get over yourself. She is 20 years old. I'm 17. Mind you, I asked her nicely the first time around. My little brother was there and she slammed the door in our face. I have this interaction posted on my Instagram story. Go ahead and watch it. I would have given her more time if it was just me, but since it's affecting our 11-year-old little brother, that's where she has me fucked up. This is part 2 of how my older sister stole $5,000 from me and why I haven't been posting. So I can't get a bank account due to not having proper ID and my parents not wanting to help me get it set up. My sister knows this and she manipulated me and she told me to not trust anyone with my money except for her. Obviously, I have a mind of my own and I should think for myself, but I trusted her because in a toxic household, younger siblings look up to their older siblings for help if the parents are unreliable. We don't choose our families, we only have the people around us to help. She used my parents' toxicity as a way to manipulate me to put all my money into her bank. She has her little sister's hard-earned money sitting in her bank account knowing her little siblings can't eat, that they're struggling. Meanwhile, she's living in an apartment for free that was given to her by this homeless shelter program. This is their number. But she's been lying to them, saying she hasn't been getting income. She gets thousands of dollars from unemployment, financial aid, and she has a boyfriend who provides everything for her. She got this apartment for free because they thought that she was struggling. But she's lying to them, not allowed to have a boyfriend providing for her or getting thousands of dollars of income if she's living there. All she does is lie for money. I'm about to get into it. Part 4 of how my older sister stole $5,000 from me. So my sister offered me to come live with her in that apartment to escape the toxicity of my household. It was hard making story times with my parents constantly fighting in the background. She was living with her boyfriend at the time. She told me they had problems, but I didn't think it was going to be too bad because she knows how my parents argue, and I thought she was taking me out of this situation to get away from that. But I moved from one household where a couple constantly bickered at each other to another one where they do the same thing, and she knew what she was putting me into. I want you guys to understand the only reason that she urged me to come live with her was so she could have another person that she could use for money. She never cared about my mental health. She even got me involved in her and her boyfriend's arguments and tell me to handle it, and that's what my mom would do to me. She mentally abused me the whole time I was there. She would purposely talk while I was making story times to mess me up. She would barge into the room where I was recording just to mess me up. Whenever I would do my makeup looks for my story time, she would give me the dirtiest looks, side-eyeing me and all. I never knew why she was treating me like that. She never addressed any issues. She would just treat me like shit. Mental health was spiraling. I have proof of this on my Instagram story. I have a bad eating disorder. This girl would body shame me. I have proof of that too. This is part 4 of how my older sister stole $5,000 from me. Since she was treating me so badly, I started looking for other places to go. I reached out to my TikTok friends and she basically told me to shut them all out and was putting bad thoughts into my head like, they're using you for clout, I'm the only person you can trust, only me. This is the notebook of apartment buying tips that I made while I was living with her. Even though she said not to trust my mom, I said fuck it and asked her to sign the lease because I was desperate. As I started making more and more money and started talking about getting my own place, she started treating me worse. And mind you, she always wanted to be a psychologist, but throughout the time period I was living with her, she started talking about dropping out of college and going to cosmetology school. Then she started saying things like, oh, your boyfriend tried to get with me, he was in love with me before you. That's kind of when I was like, okay, this bitch is genuinely weird. It wasn't true. This is the day I moved in with her. As you can see, will not be missing this neighborhood. I was leaving. February 27th, my stuff was packed. I left April 9th. You can read that. I have an app that tracks all the money I make through promos. As you can see, from January 27th to April 9th, I made more than $5,000 while I was living with her. I had to say it was $2,000 and it was her money. Meanwhile, me and my little brother were starving. This is going to be part 5 of how my older sister stole $5,000 from me. So after we fell out, she added this cosmetology school to her bio. She doesn't have a job, so I wonder whose money she's using to pay for that cosmetology school. It's my money. This is their number. Feel free to call. If they accept that money, I'm coming after them too. That is fraud. That is not her money. They really better not accept that money because it's not her money to spend. My hard-earned fucking money, and she has little siblings that she's preventing from eating and having their basic necessities just so she can go to cosmetology school. So anyways, let me get into exactly why we fell out. One day, I decided to stop letting her walk all over me. I would usually just be sad after she treated me like shit, but this time I decided to match her energy. Evil twin, evil twin. I was making this video that day, the video below me. At first, it looked terrible and she was hyping me up talking about it looked so good. But then when I showed her the end result and it looked bomb and I asked her if she liked it, this is what she said. Yeah. Like, girl, that's why you're going to cosmetology school. I don't need to go to cosmetology school. I'm already running laps around you. Matched her energy and we didn't talk for the rest of the day. Part 6. After I matched her energy, that was the first day that we didn't talk. It's crazy how she hates what is her own energy. I went back to finish my video. She's over there huffing and puffing, throwing her attitude around, and I'm over there just side-eyeing her like, girl, get the fuck over yourself. Nobody did shit to you. It was jealousy the whole time. There was so much tension, I went to the other room to finish my video. Tell me why that exact moment she barged in talking about I need to clean. You had all day. You couldn't wait till after? Be considerate? Like right when I start recording, girl. She didn't want me to post that video. She didn't want people to see that I looked good and I killed that hairstyle. The next day comes and we're still not talking. She invites her boyfriend over even though I've expressed to her how uncomfortable he makes me. I guess she invited him to show that she has somebody. I don't know. She's a big fucking weirdo. I take an Uber back here to get some packages that delivered here on accident. I I get this big text from her. She says I wasn't helping her enough. Who's gonna help somebody that mentally abuses them every day? You do is TikTok, you could use your money to help me pay for a car. If I didn't do TikTok, there wouldn't be money to help you pay for a car. I'm glad I didn't help her pay for a car. She would have kept that shit. Part 7, my older sister stealing $5,000 from me, analyzing the text from the last part. Let's talk about the fact that she started off with the reason why I'm upset is because. No, started off with the reason I treat you like shit every single fucking day is because. She says I wasn't helping her around the house or whatever. Mind you, she said the reason she kicked out her boyfriend the first time was because he didn't do enough. But she kept bringing him to the apartment and brought him there when I left. So if he's not doing enough and you're mad at me for not doing enough, why are you bringing him back? What's the real reason? Just say you're jealous. Be honest. She wants to talk about helping her get a car. I'm glad I didn't help her get a car. Look what she's doing with my money right now. If it was a car, I wouldn't be able to do anything about that. She wants to say you could go to Lighthouse, but you didn't want to do that either. You asked Mom to sign the lease for you. That Lighthouse homeless shelter is for people who actually need it. I would have had to lie to them and tell them that I wasn't making any income and I would have taken the place of somebody who actually needed it. Mind you, they give you apartments in areas full of crime. Why would she want her little sister going into an area like that when she has an opportunity for something better? She didn't want me to pass her up. Like I said, already running circles around her. No, I just don't want to lie to the government for benefits. Leave it for the people who actually need it. I said this in response. This is part 8 of my older sister stealing $5,000 from me. After that happened, I blocked her on everything, took an Uber back to her place, packed all my shit by myself, took an Uber back. She lives like 30 minutes away, and mind you, I had to make other stops before I came here to get my packages. I spent like $300 on Ubers that day. Got here, texted her boyfriend saying I needed my money back. The next day, I get this text from her. Let me clarify something. Her and her boyfriend were getting it in the shower that day. It was clean before, and I know because I had plans to take a shower that day. I checked if it was clean because after she takes showers, she never fucking cleans that shit. She just leaves dirt all over the fucking place. They took a shower together, and it was so dirty afterwards. I brought it to her attention, and she didn't care, so I had to clean it in order for me to take a shower. So if it wasn't her boyfriend that made it that dirty, then it was her dirt because they took a shower together. Congrats, you dumb bitch. You played yourself. This is my TikTok station. Such a fucking mess. So disgusting to me how she tried to call me dirty, her own little sister, and try to put this man above me. She is so fucking weird. She is so fucking weird. That's when me and my mom drove to her place to ask for my money, which led to the altercation on my Instagram story. Last part will be the next part. In an attempt to make me look bad, he started posting things like this. This is just one of the posts that she made, and I'm going to post the rest on my Instagram story. I have no reason to come on here and fake a story. I have thousands of people every day sending me stories in my Instagram DMs. Who has the fucking time to make up all those stories? Who? Especially not in the environment that I was in. Nobody had the energy for that, honey. The most disgusting part is her saying that I faked my sexual assault, which is something that I opened up to her about. That's fucking unforgivable. She is dead to me after that. I had to make this story time to include every single detail because she is so manipulative and will try to twist up any little thing. I currently need donations to make up for that $5,000. I plan to use that money to go into my content. For example, a camera for YouTube. About to be 18, I'm gonna need to save up for a car. I need it to provide for me and my little brother. She's terrified of my potential. There's no reason for her to be keeping that money from me. I offered to give her $700. I offered to apologize. She didn't deserve that. I gave her weeks to get over herself while me and my little brother were starving. My backup account explains why I couldn't make money through TikTok during this time period. I also need donations for when I take her to court when I turn 18.